Lost the fight with Nick Collins to interview Britt Ekland, but you'll be able to get your mind on a match as major as this one. But we were here at the weekend of last season when there was a huge crowd when Wimbledon took on Manchester United. But of course United had the championship then. It was more an exhibition. There's an edge to this affair today, and certainly in the pre-match build-up.
You can bet your life that Wimbledon wanted that game at the end of last season to mean something. It didn't, and I think that showed in their performance. You get a totally different feel around the ground. Martin and I have been in the dressing room area for about an hour there, and there's definitely an edge about the Wimbledon camp today. They really feel that there's a chance for them to create a little bit of history. They also feel that this 31-game unbeaten run has to come to an end sometime, so why not Selhurst Park, they believe.
Right, well, let's give you the Wimbledon team. And the selection certainly shows a positive approach. John Fashanu, Dean Holdsworth and Manchester-born Gary Blissett forming a three-pronged attack. All three scored in last weekend's emphatic victory over Newcastle here. And perhaps the major key to the contest is whether they can similarly upset United. Fashanu, Vinnie Jones and John Scales remind us of that remarkable FA Cup success story 6 years ago. One fitness worry has cleared up. Centre-back Scott Fitzgerald virtually ruled out on Thursday. He's made a remarkable recovery from a groin strain.
Well, if Wimbledon are going to cause an upset, two people I think in this formation have to play well, and that's Warren Barton and Gary Elkins, both fullbacks. With the 4-3-3 formation, I think Joe Kinnear leaves his fullbacks a little bit exposed, and when you have talented players like Giggs and Kanchelskis against your fullbacks, that could be a warning. But what he's hoping for is that his front three, Holdsworth, Fashanu and Blissett, supported by Robbie L, can cause more problems at that end of the pitch.
Manchester United continue to progress without the disruption of major injury. Same team, same subs was Alex Ferguson's announcement of today's lineup. Eric Cantona returning in full working order from captaining France to victory in Italy last Wednesday. It is a rare start against Wimbledon for Ryan Giggs, who in the past has sometimes been protected from the more physical fixtures.
Well, what more can you say about this lineup of Alex Ferguson's? It'll be 4-4-2. Who'll play well? He doesn't mind, as long as 5 or 6 of that talented team do.
So is it Wimbledon, or is it going to be Manchester United? We're about to find out. Selhurst Park, as you can see, full to the rafters. It's a fabulous atmosphere there. FA Cup 5th round. Place in the quarter-finals at stake. Wimbledon, as Andy and Martin were saying, Bobby Gould, know that. They are up for this, aren't they?
Yes, they're certainly wound up, and they'll be looking to make sure they get their fair percentage of balls into the box. And if they do that, then you can rest assured that man in picture there, John Fashanu, will be creating a few problems in the air for Stevie Bruce and Gary Pallister.
Listen to this, Bob. Listen, Ghetto Blaster thumping away still.
It's a lovely insight for the viewers to see that, Richard, you know, because they can see the players now. They want to go about the task in a very meaningful way.
You say that young man won't forget in a hurry.
He's got his goalkeeping gloves on, Richard. They didn't tell him they were going to play in red, did they?
No, no, they didn't, did they? Wimbledon in red, if you've joined us late today, which means a change of course for Manchester United. That's all part of the psychological war that's been going on. The Ghetto Blaster's been on since about 3 o'clock this afternoon, thumping out that music. You can just hear the bell in the background ringing again. Wimbledon are all but ready. Are Manchester United? Of course, it's too late now, Bob, isn't it, for a manager? Your job's done.
Yes, you've done all your preparation, all the hard work. It's just that knot in the stomach now. And when the players leave the dressing room, you have a few minutes calm thinking. There he is, the man that made Wimbledon, Sam O'Man. He phoned me yesterday morning. He says, I don't think I'm going to the game. He was so nervous. I said, you'll be there, Mr. O'Man. And there he is.
Forgotten to put his tie on.
I think Manchester United are playing a little bit of the continental game here, Richard. They're keeping Wimbledon waiting. A game of nerves being played.
Alex Ferguson there, just at the back of that picture.
Referee looks nice and relaxed.
There must be a hole in the wall. Wimbledon know they're not there, look. They're not coming either.
It's a very interesting part, this, especially when you go into Europe. Sometimes you can be left in the middle of the pitch waiting for the opposition to come out, and it's a question of who's going to crack first.
This is fascinating. I really do.
Nobody's in a rush to come out, Richard, are they?
United in yellow and green, of course, today, because the referees in the FA Cup wear those black jerseys.
Fantastic that you get so many people there at 5 o'clock.
Yes, fair point. Everybody's talking about Vinnie Jones and Eric Cantona today, aren't they? If we're aware of it, Manchester United will be, won't they?
Yes, but I think also Vinnie Jones will be aware of it. He'll make sure that he doesn't get involved in any skirmishes that might lead to him being booked or anything, because Vinnie Jones doesn't want that, Richard. People have made a lot of Vinnie Jones, but he wants to be a good competitor. Here they come.
This really was a standoff. I think Alex Ferguson there was saying, well, we're not going until they're going. And United have cracked, it seems. And still no sign of Wimbledon. They want them outside that dressing room door, don't they, to hear that music? That would put me off, I've got to tell you.
I wonder if they'll give it the scream as well, because when we played against Liverpool in the final, they destroyed Liverpool in the tunnel.
Very interesting. Long walk now at Selhurst Park before the fans get their first glimpse of these two teams. Still, the music pumps out. Paul Ince, who never puts a shirt on until the last possible moment. And here we go. It's live here on Sky 1. Wimbledon against Manchester United from the 5th round of the FA Cup. Next. Fifth round tie between Wimbledon and Manchester United. The odds, well, United odds on. Wimbledon 7-2, 11-5 the draw. Speaking of which, we'll have a look at the full draw later. All the goals from the 5th round. I can tell you the winners of this match will be at home to either Charlton or Bristol City next. Let's join Andy Gray and Martin Tyler.
Thank you, Richard. Discipline today is in the hands of the Harrow housemaster, David Ellery. He, I'm sure, will take care to judge incidents on their merit rather than on any reputations that might be brought into this 5th round contest. There are some fiery characters involved in a fascinating cup tie. Manchester United, a marvellous season, 31 games unbeaten, but nothing yet in their grasp. Blackburn have cut their Premiership lead to 7 points. Sheffield Wednesday will be striving to overturn a 1-goal deficit in the second leg of the League Cup semi-final. That's next Wednesday. And now Wimbledon flexing their muscles to face up to United in the FA Cup. Late afternoon in South London. The weather is cold. The pitch, though, with enough give in it to give some comfort to the players. Wimbledon wound up, looking for a cyclonic start. But beneath all the bluster, I can tell you they have a very healthy respect for Manchester United. They know they have to perform to their game plan to seek out success here and not let the likes of Hughes settle on the ball, supported by Ince. The fast start coming from Alex Ferguson's men. Hughes has the shot. Just when it looked, one or two of the Wimbledon players were wondering about a whistle.
I have to say it's wonderful refereeing from David Ellery. He could easily have given a free kick there, but he spots quickly that Hughes has got an opportunity. And Hans Segers almost makes a mess of it.
Over the crowd, and the whistle is gone.
It's one of those occasions, though, that what Wimbledon have got to be careful about, that it doesn't get to them. I'm sure it won't. But it can so easily pass them by. They're so wound up for it that they don't do themselves justice. And I think Joe Kinnear will be hoping that you know, the talking's over with now, but his players can do themselves justice after last week's fine performance against Newcastle.
Wimbledon in particular know all about Mark Hughes. He scored more goals against them than any other Manchester United player, although Gary Pallister has popped in a couple, including one this season at Old Trafford in a 3-1 win, when Wimbledon will be the first to admit that they were well beaten. Jones. Fashanu trying to get height into the lead, but Pallister, who invariably picks him up in these contests, got there first. Keane. Now this is where Wimbledon have got to watch out in how their three in midfield effectively handle the four of Manchester United. Well, that's one way to do it, but the referee won't let that go on. Jones on Keane.
There'll be plenty of commitment, there'll be plenty of passion, there'll be plenty of tackling. And I think it's nice to see David Ellery, even this early mark, not overreacting to anything.
Sagers has already made one fine save. Pallister and Irwin having a long look. Irwin takes, and reminiscent of that fine strike at Anfield earlier in the year.
Nothing wrong with the power, certainly nothing wrong at all with that, except about 6 feet too high. But it's a warning. Dennis Irwin's confident enough to try it for almost anywhere at the moment.
In the pursuit of this particular piece of silverware, no one is making it easy for Manchester United. Away to Sheffield United in the third round, away to Norwich City in the fourth, and now another test of strength at Selhurst Park. Well, Paul Parker coming across, dragged across by the run from left to right by Gary Blissett.
Well, you can expect lots of this today. Lots of pressure whenever they can, in and around Manchester United's 18-yard box.
John Scales right in there. And Fashanu's header stopped on the line itself by the dive of Schmeichel. Kanchelskis gets the better of Gary Elkins. Fitzgerald is drawn across. Hughes coming in. Wimbledon had players scuttling back from the set piece in the other half.
But that long throw-in from Vinnie Jones will give them some confidence. I can't help thinking, though, a better header from John Fashanu, and he may have put his team one up. You can see he didn't get an awful lot into it, and what he did get into it, half the pace was taken off it by Gary Pallister's back, and that made the save easy. But that was an opportunity.
Well, Fashanu, part of this three-pronged attack, which performed so well against Newcastle last weekend in a 4-2 win. Dean Holdsworth was another scorer in that game, as Fashanu was, and indeed Gary Blissett, who by background is a Manchester City fan. Hughes, plenty of room for Giggs. Kanchelskis coming into the centre. Corner.
So that's where it's dangerous, Martin, in this formation that Joe has. And that when the ball's switched like that to either wide player, they really have got a one-against-one situation, which is absolutely right for either of them to go at either Warren Barton or Gary Elkins and really test them.
Giggs with the corner. Headed on by Pallister, but behind.
Well, it's been a bright, lively start to the match. Again, Pallister gets in here. What you would say is pretty much a free header. Just enough pressure from John Fashanu.
The first meeting in the FA Cup between the two clubs, but plenty of players out here this afternoon will remember a League Cup tie 5 years ago at Foul Lane. Wimbledon won it 2-1, a rugged affair which ended notoriously with a clash in the tunnel between John Fashanu and Viv Anderson. But as you say, Andy, the appeal of the game, obviously there from the draw itself, but in the way it's being mapped out by the two camps, Wimbledon have come with an aggressive attacking philosophy, playing the three strikers, leaving a man light in midfield, which we've seen already is suiting the strengths of Manchester United. Peter Fear, former youth team captain here. Hughes. Giggs. Here's Parker. Cantona coming deep to collect, but not collecting.
When you think that Joe Kinnear is really taking a gamble, and that's what he's doing with the three front men, you can bet your life that Robbie Earle will be bombing forward, and even Vinnie Jones has started quite far forward. It's ideal for Manchester United to soak it up and break very quickly, and there's no better team in the land at doing that than Manchester United at the moment.
Fashanu playing for an obstruction that wasn't given. Bruce just standing his ground. Fitzgerald competing well with Cantona, and Warren Barton with Giggs, who was a little on the late side. Free kick to Wimbledon. We shouldn't forget that amidst the strength and the systematic play of Wimbledon, there are some talented individuals, and Warren Barton would certainly come into that category. Joe Kinnear believes he's a candidate to catch the eye of Terry Venables. And Joe knows a thing or two about right-back play. He was a fine purveyor of that particular art. He came from Brentford, where of course he had a spell alongside Dean Holdsworth. Michael taking plenty of steps then. He seems to become more and more excitable with each passing week. It's a particularly challenging cup tie for him, and he's been flattened after the ball had gone by Hughes. David Ellery noticed it. Whether he'll do anything about it when the game stops, we must wait and see. It's not stopped yet. Gary Elkins actually being spoken to now by the referee, presumably the message, and he saw what happened. He'll be keeping an eye on Mark Hughes and that particular type of challenge. Hughes going in again. Jones didn't flinch. You wouldn't have expected that, would you?
But they'll take that, Wimbledon, they'll take throw-ins, anything from 30 yards out. They'll take free kicks, they'll take corners.
Holdsworth. Barton gets it in quickly. Manchester United have got to be aware of that. Robbie Earle, Fashanu, the three attackers close to each other there in a dangerous triangle. Jones, not so much available in wider positions. He'll be back by Fitzgerald. If Wimbledon really show signs of mixing it, Manchester United have got plenty of strong men in their own ranks. Kanchelskis. Cantona steering it off, and Kanchelskis is away. Hughes going for the near post. Giggs coming in behind him, doesn't reach either of them. And the covering there was by Warren Barton, and it was of a high order.
It needed to be of a high order as well, Martin. And Mark Hughes, we know he's got great body strength, and he was using it, but Warren Barton was not going to be moved.
Well, talking about body strength, Fashanu using his. A black belt in the martial arts. The red shirts, incidentally, we should point out that Wimbledon aren't allowed to wear their normal dark blue kit in cup ties. It's too near the black of referees in this competition. So red has become their FA Cup colour. That's been in the two previous rounds against Scunthorpe and Sunderland. They're very happy to wear it, of course, to make Manchester United change.
Interesting looking at Eric Cantona. Very little involvement from him in the opening 10 minutes of the match.
Michael putting the ball forward quickly, and Cantona was caught. Out by Parker. Wimbledon have worked this week in trying to stop Schmeichel releasing the ball quickly. They know the counter-attacks so often start from Manchester United right from the back.
How'd you do that unless you jump on him? That's what I want to know.
I don't rule that out. Jones being told to get on with it.
So that was a smashing throw-in. Great trajectory.
Well, there you had Schmeichel trying to clear it quickly and in fact doing it, but he was fouled in the act.
I think they'll quite happily do that. Concede free kicks in United's 6-yard box to avoid Schmeichel releasing it quickly, but that type of throw is always going to cause him problems. See Steve Bruce using all his experience here and just backing into John Scales.
Knocked off by Cantona. Safety first by Fitzgerald. A bit of a disagreement there with Barton. Wimbledon needs to get their minds now on the marking at the corner. Short route by Manchester United. Now we have a throw. To be taken by Andrei Kanchelskis. Wimbledon have pulled everyone back. Plenty of time for Parker. Hughes. I think half caught there with the thought of teeing himself up and then seeing Steve Bruce better placed.
Well, I'm amazed at the amount of space they allow Mark Hughes here. They both back off him. Fitzgerald doesn't do a thing. And really, Mark Hughes had time to take it into his stride if he wanted to.
But it was a sort of set-up, more associated perhaps with Wimbledon. But can be effective when used by Manchester United, of course. They're quite capable of knocking it long, as well as building through midfield, as they try to do now. Owen. Fitzgerald coming out to challenge Cantona. Needs some cover in the centre, and it may not be there. Roy Keane going on, going down. Quayle. Wimbledon didn't plug the gap. One of their centre-backs had chased Cantona right back beyond the halfway line. And there was space for the runner from midfield, Roy Keane. It ended in a heap inside the penalty area, but not in a penalty.
This is all about Roy Keane. Look at the way he chests the ball down and completely loses Robbie L. And suddenly the gap's there, but what about Gary Elkins? That's a magnificent tackle. May have been the wrong foot. Normally you'd expect the right foot, the left leg to come round, but he goes in with his left leg, but he gets away with it. Makes great contact with the ball, and that gives the rest of the Wimbledon defence time to scramble it clear.
That's what they'll tell you here about Gary Elkins. He might not be the quickest, but he is an excellent tackler technically. My word, he needed to be then. Kanchelskis is offside.
Just that midfield area, Martin. I think a lot of people before the game may have felt that Robbie L would try and get himself on Paul Ince and run off him as an attacking force, and that would leave Roy Keane with Vinnie Jones. I think what Joe was worried about is that Keane's running ability, that Vinnie may get caught once or twice, but I think we saw there, doesn't matter if you're as good a runner as Robbie L, Keane has got the quality, just that one movement to get clear.
And at the moment, Vinnie Jones has gone across to take Roy Keane. Ince free to get his head to the ball, but it's a Wimbledon throw.
And Robbie L's natural games to go forward, and I don't think we should suppress that.
spreading just that into Manchester United's ranks.
Well, he had an awful lot of space, Peter Fear there. I think he gets caught in two minds. I'm not so sure he knows what to do here. Bounces it, he goes up, he tries to head it, he tries to kick it, all at the same time. And he had a bit more time than he realised there. But again, the long throw causing a bit of confusion in there.
Only all-Premiership tie in the fifth round, which tells you so much about this season's sensations in the FA Cup, which have continued today. Scales coming around to give some cover. Fitzgerald needs it, but there was no one chasing on for United. Holdsworth and Blissett. One long clearance from the goalkeeper, and suddenly there was action right on the edge of the Manchester United penalty area.
But that's where Paul Ince is invaluable. The holding player for Manchester United for the majority, and that's exactly what he was there, right in a position to get a tackle in on Blissett when it was needed to help his back four. Pallister.
A decent header by Fitzgerald. It fell for Jones. Not the best of balls by Fear, but Holdsworth was able to help it on. A bit untidy, but Wimbledon ploughing on with Fashanu. Barton. Now they want a good cross here. Slid in though to the run of Earl, when Fashanu and Holdsworth in particular were waiting on the far post. In the end, acting as decoys. Here's Holdsworth on the ball. Jones has played really under the necessity to get rid of the ball before he lost it. Ince, more measured. Runs away from Roy Keane, who has been a loser for Nottingham Forest each time he was involved in an away match against Wimbledon. 3 years in a row. And of course, with Forest, he got to the FA Cup final in '91. Sagers, who's been a very capable successor to Dave Besant down the years here. Buxton at one end, the Dane, and goal for Manchester United. Hughes, the Welshman. Pushed by Scales.
This is what he's so good at. Look how strong he is there to resist somebody pushing into his back.
Barton, who followed Giggs in field. Throw to United. Parker. Oh. David Ellery will have to defuse it here. Jones on Cantona. A lot of United players wanted to defend the Frenchman's honour.
Well, that's balmy. How can you defend Vinnie Jones, though, Martin? It's absolutely balmy. Makes no attempt to go for the ball. It's good, it's high. All that remains to be seen is just how serious David Ellery takes it.
Wimbledon, it might surprise you to know, have not had a player sent off all season. But David Ellery did show the red card to Vinnie Jones when he was a Sheffield United player. I would suggest it's a yellow one here. Well, any other discretion of that nature, and there can only be one outcome. Amateur antics at Norwich might forfeit some sympathy around the country for Eric Cantona, but it was a bad tackle on him. United have the free kick. The call must have been loud enough for John Fashanu. Success does seem to breed jealousy, and Wimbledon have received an unusual amount of letters from well-wishers, from those who would like to see Manchester United beaten today.
I think the more the game's a scrap, and I mean a bitty game, then the higher that Wimbledon have fancied their chances. If they allow Manchester United time to get the ball down and pass it and move, then they look a threat every time they go forward. So if they can turn it into a battle, Wimbledon, they would feel that would help their chances.
Jones forward quickly. Well, the likes of Pallister and Bruce know have been building themselves up, I'm sure, spiritually for the physical side of the needs of this cup tie. Cantona already has been on the receiving end. Alex Ferguson watching at the outset from the stand alongside Martin Edwards. Knowing his volatile nature, if he'd been on the touchline, he might have been on the pitch a minute or two ago. Fitzgerald. Well, Jones again.
Well, he's on thin ice, he really is. This ball's gone, and he just runs straight in to Paul Parker. He really is taking a huge gamble here. I think David Elliott's conscious of the fact there's been a lot of publicity about this as well, Martin. And I think he doesn't want to be seen to be overreacting.
I think John Fashanu is conscious of the fact that Vinnie Jones is on thin ice. See the FIFA badge on David Elleray's chest. He is highly regarded in the world of refereeing, and that, emphatically, is a final warning.
Well, anything now and he's off. It's as simple as that.
Nil-nil. Here comes Fashanu. Back from Bruce. Michael not distracted. Holdsworth and Fashanu himself bearing down on the goalkeeper. And look at the pure footballing styles that are being set up against each other here. Clearly pay Manchester United if they can to keep the ball in wide areas. And now Mark Hughes gets embroiled in a challenge that caught the eye of the referee.
Well, Mark's never been known for wanting to pull out of challenges. Always competitive.
And sent off, of course, at Sheffield United in the third round. Having scored the goal that started this cup run for Alex Ferguson's side. Free kick to Wimbledon. Stops and starts at the moment. Jones got to it. And again, not really giving a problem to Ince. There's Fear. Working for the cross. It wasn't cleared cleanly by Pallister. Barton's header is a bit of a stray one. And Earl saying he went for the ball. The outcome was clear that he didn't get it in the mind of the referee. Keane was fouled. Another card for Robbie Earl this time.
I think Robbie Earl, in all honesty though, Mark, made a genuine attempt to get to the ball there. I think because of what's going on before, I think he's suffering a little bit with this decision. Certainly was no worse than Vinnie Jones's last tackle on Paul Parker.
Jelskis. Irwin. have a shot. Not particularly encouraged to do that. A patient game from United, finally crossed in by Giggs. Oh, can Hughes convert it here? Barton got to it. Jones eases it down. Anywhere will do for Peter Fear. Wimbledon hanging on by a thread then. And Warren Barton got back. Otherwise, Mark Hughes would have been putting Manchester United into the lead.
Warren Barton got back, and Hans Sager's got lucky. He's down on the ground, look at that. Had he not hit his leg there, Mark Hughes would have had a simple tap in. They rode the luck.
Parker.
It was a good patient build-up. For the first time in the match, United took their time and movement. Wimbledon had 11 men behind the ball, but United were patient until Giggs felt the opportunity was there to put in a telling cross.
Well, you don't go 31 games unbeaten without being able to stand the test against a team that wants to approach the cup tie in a whirlwind style. Ince. Fashanu had that early header saved, otherwise not too much in the attacking sense for Joe Kinnear to cheer. Of this fifth round tie, home match in the quarter-finals against the winners of Bristol City or Charlton. Cantona and Fashanu in a very gentle gesture there. No reaction, no retaliation. Free kick to Wimbledon. This is where Manchester United may feel some concern. Not short of height in their own ranks. But Wimbledon have got Blissett coming in from the back post. Holdsworth making a run across the face of the goal. Earl and Fashanu trying to be involved as well, but the flag is up for offside.
What Manchester United did well is they kept Wimbledon out at the edge of the 18-yard box. Wimbledon love to back teams off. Love to back them back and top the goalkeeper as much as possible. Look how far out they are. They're out at the edge of the 18-yard box. If they put one up above the penalty spot, then Peter Schmeichel could come and get it. And if they put it where they put it, it's going to take some header to score from that range.
Well, that was a free kick that Wimbledon were working on Friday morning against a group of their own youngsters who defended much deeper than Manchester United did, so it wasn't a proper rehearsal.
The test of that free kick comes, Mark, when it's about 10-15 yards further upfield, level with the 18-yard box.
It's another free kick. Played short for Barton to try and batter goalwards.
Well, they're not happy with that, because that was an ideal opportunity from where the free kick was taken to actually put it in round about the 6-yard area and have his three big strikers plus John Scales going after it.
There's a real chatterbox on the bench is Joe. FA Cup winner, of course, with Spurs back in 1967. As a player. Parker. Hughes. Now Irwin. Come out of the middle. There's an option for Ince. Giggs. The majority of Manchester United supporters on the bank behind the goal that Sagers is guarding at the moment. Cantona. Parker. It's a useful cross. Cantona! Trying to guide it back inside that far post as we look and as he looked.
Well, he's been on the edge of the game so far, but in that one moment, he played the pass wide and immediately made his way into the danger area. Wasn't an easy header, but you can see what he's trying to do. He's looking to go back the way it came. The thing to do, not only does it give you a chance of scoring that side, but if one of your teammates is coming in on the header, they've got a chance of tapping it in.
Fear. Barton with a chance to plant it in. Looking to let it run. Jones trying to make it his. Elkins did well. But there was space behind him for Keane to accelerate into. Wimbledon have won their last 3 home games against Sheffield Wednesday, Sunderland, that was an FA Cup tie, of course. And Newcastle here, 4-2 last weekend. Fitzgerald, not an easy one for Sagers to kick. And he dropped midway between the halfway line and the penalty area. Cantona. Positional play by Elkins, and needs some more of it here. Coming up on Sky Sports on Friday, continuing our schoolboy international action from the Victory Shield, England against Northern Ireland. Strongly recommend that to you. Super Sunday in London again at Stamford Bridge. A match with more than a passing reference to the relegation situation.
Well, you don't often see that. That's one for the scrapbook. Mark Hughes miscontrol, something on the edge of the box.
Pallister. A classy piece of defending. Well, that was not exactly the same.
Not quite textbook defending.
Ellsworth throwing his hair, looking a little bit like Ryan Giggs.
United are in control just now. They really are. The last 10-15 minutes, they've been very comfortable on the ball. They've been able to find space. They've been able to pick the passes, forcing Wimbledon further and further back on the edge of the box. The only thing they haven't done is connected in the last third. I don't think that should surprise anyone. Wimbledon not known for keeping possession.
Parker. He's all doing the defending. Finding it hard to get involved. It's not an easy way to play with 3 up front. The conventional channels that are available when it's a 2 seem to be cut off. Blissett's brief is to come in from the left-hand side whenever possible, particularly when Wimbledon build up from the right. But it's Jones on the left with the throw. Chance for Elkins to get the crossing quickly. United were alive to that. Defend the second ball well through Bruce. Fitzgerald. Bruce again. Holsworth. And then Jones, who first arrived on the scene with a home debut back in the mid-80s against Manchester United, and he scored the goal that beat them at Plough Lane.
The trouble with having 3 strikers as well is that they get so narrow at times. But it does make defending against it quite easy. You can see the difficulty Holsworth had there of trying to get it down and get past players. In the back 4 of Manchester United was close contact with each other.
Hughes. atmosphere going on down the right. Robbie Earle, who's got an eye for goal, of course, from midfield, coming into the centre. It's not a good ball by Fear, not by any stretch of the imagination. And Chelskis. Breaks for Cantona. Chelskis. And once more, Elkins was there in the nick of time. He certainly touched the ball back to Sagers, as you can assess from the goalkeeper's reaction. Keane with a throw. Just wonder whether the two bookings have also had an effect on Wimbledon.
And they certainly will have an effect on who's been booked. I think that's for sure, Martin. And certainly Vinnie Jones, when you think it, competing is a huge part of his game. And he's got to be so careful with everything he does now.
Here's Fear. Fashanu is coming back. Holdsworth, who got a hat-trick in the third round against Scunthorpe. Pallister. Irwin. There's a relaxed look about Manchester United in possession now. He's got it through for Hughes. Looks down at the pitch rather ruefully.
Didn't hit it cleanly. Great interplay from Hughes and Ince, it really was. And when the ball breaks to Hughes in the edge of the box here, he doesn't hit it in the way we know Mark Hughes can.
Especially at the sharp end of the Wimbledon reaction in attack. Barton, who's very calm and comfortable on the ball, and wasn't at all flustered by Giggs flying in at him. Good contest. Giggs, who's been spared, as I said at the start, one or two of the physical fixtures on Manchester United's list in the past. They've started the last couple of games against Wimbledon. Alec Ferguson feeling that he's stronger now. He needs to be. He's bumped there by Fear.
I don't think we'll see Ryan Giggs protected too often now, Martin. That was all part of his growing up in the game, being rested for particular games. But
and you can leave him out of a league game.
Yes, you can.
In the context of a season, but certainly not a crucial cup tie. And there might not be a second chance. Giggs. Wimbledon back off. Until Fitzgerald stretched out a leg. Hughes very quickly on the scene. Here's Cantona. Ince. A weakness really for United there. It was all a bit central. And there were enough bodies back for Wimbledon.
Pressure's just back on them though, Martin, because they just whack it forward like that. If they don't connect with one of the front men, they're just giving possession away. And back from Manchester United.
Holdsworth. Holding it up for a moment and then looking for Fashanu, who did win it, but there was no support for him. Hughes, lovely touch. It's a sweeping Manchester United attack here. Keane and Chelskis. They're massing in the middle in the green and yellow halves. And over the last 15 minutes, it's just been looking a little ominous for Wimbledon, but it's 0-0 with 5 minutes to go to half-time.
I think Joe Kinnear would be anxious to get them in at half-time. I think before the game, if you'd offered Joe 0-0 at half-time, I think he would have snapped your hand off. But it does look ominous, I have to agree with that. You just get the feeling it's a matter of when, as far as Manchester United are concerned, rather than if.
well to get it to Hughes. Wimbledon closed in on him. Well, in Alec Ferguson's time, there have been some problems against Wimbledon for Manchester United. Remember, Wimbledon are still the last club to win at Old Trafford. But Wimbledon have managed just that one win in the last 10 league meetings. And United have had a happy habit of winning here since Wimbledon switched their base to Selhurst Park. They're not yet in front, despite playing the more controlled, the more classy football than what we've seen so far. And one thing you can be sure is that Wimbledon, if they're feeling any pressure and any adversity, they're the sort of side that get bound together by those situations. But the booking for Jones has made him tread a much more careful path. And Manchester United have been helped by that. They're the bosses in midfield at the moment. Gerwin. Chelski's coming in. Elkins' header only goes to Cantona. A glorious goal! 2 minutes before half-time, and what can you do about that? Wimbledon had no answer.
Quite amazing. It's not a great header defensively. You can see how Gary Elkins is struggling. He needs a call. He needs his goalkeeper to help him, and he needs a far better header. But from that, it's all about the magic of Eric Cantona. Watch the way he just backs away, takes one touch to set it up. And what about the quality of the volley? Quite sensational. Look at that. One to admire, time and time again. And that's the answer.
Holdsworth. Fashanu coming in. Well, at Carrow Road in the last round, he was in the headlines for the wrong reason. You can say and write all you like about that. Nothing but the good of the game, unless you're a die-hard Wimbledon fan, and even then I think you have to have grudging admiration. As Manchester United were measurably improving as the half has developed, they've crowned their spell of supremacy with a stunning strike. The new captain of France, he led his country to a win in Italy on Wednesday. That takes some doing. Has he inspired here to another victory for Manchester United?
It's a little lesson as well, looking at Gary Elkins there, Mark. It's a lesson for any kids watching. You know, you look at defenders, when a cross like that's coming in, you could tell he didn't want to give a corner away. That would have been the simple and probably the sensible thing to do, because he was under pressure. And had he just nodded it for a corner, and his team could have gathered there and he could have defended that properly. He was struggling with the header, could only clear it to the edge of the box. And what punishment Eric Cantona inflicted on them.
It's a shame in a way for Elkins, because he'd been thoroughly examined in the way the match had shaped up before then and passed the examination. Manchester United bear down on Wimbledon again. Fitzgerald trips Giggs, and David Ellery now has called Scott Fitzgerald across.
Well, this
will
is
hand out the punishment
for Giggs, isn't it? Full pace, one against one with a defender. And I don't think Scott Fitzgerald makes any attempt to go for the ball here. Giggs has passed him, and all he's doing is taking Giggs out the play. He's a lucky boy.
Well, David Ellery gave no indication there, as of course he's not able to do, of whether he considered red. But it's another yellow card, the third for Wimbledon in the first half. An indication again of the balance of power at Selhurst Park. We're in stoppage time at the end of the first half. Ince wide.
Nothing wrong with the strike. Straight forward. It's the set up for Paul Ince for the strike. Just drags it a little bit left the target. Well, it was important for Joe Finnear to get his team in at 0-0 at half-time, Martin. They haven't been able to do that because of the brilliance of that man.
His 18th goal of the season. Something very special indeed, but plenty of justice in the scoreline for Alec Ferguson. Manchester United growing and growing as the half developed. Furrowed brows for Wimbledon. At half-time here, it's Wimbledon 0, Manchester United 1.
So half-time at Selhurst Park, it's Wimbledon 0, Manchester United 1. And the rest of the match facts tell the tale of that first half. 15 free kicks conceded by Wimbledon, 3 booked. Haven't forced a corner yet. United have forced 3, had 8 shots, 3 on target. They lead by 1-0. All the fifth-round goals coming up between now and the end of the programme, and we'll have a look at the draw as well. Our guest today, Bobby Gould, who was in charge of Wimbledon when they won the Cup in '88. A long way back, it seems, for Wimbledon now, Bob.
It is, Richard, and I tried to defend Vinnie Jones at the start of the programme, but that tackle was suicidal, and I think that set the seed for Manchester United, and they have been magnificent the way that they've responded since then.
And what a goal.
Oh, truly superb.
What a goal.
One for everybody to sit and admire and relish from a very, very talented player. They've been at Wimbledon, haven't they? They've put the ball into the box. Gary Elkins gets beyond it, just tries to head it away. Cantona stops up. One touch and a volley that is there, that will be cherished for years to come.
It's a dream, isn't it? It really is.
You can't say any more than just watch these pictures. Is he offside? You don't want to destroy a goal. You can't destroy a goal like that, Richard. But I've only just spotted it there when we've watched it from another camera angle. There he is. Is he in line with the goalkeeper?
There's not much the goalkeeper was going to do about it, is there?
But there we are, Dennis Irwin getting forward, high ball into the box, sets it up. He knows what he's doing. His football brain is brilliant, whether it's in French or in English. And that man there, Richard, deserves every credit, because he's set these Manchester United lads on the right roads to success.
As you were saying, that was the perfect answer to that challenge from Vinnie Jones.
The only answer. Vinnie, he's got to grow up at some stage. This is suicidal. You cannot do that. And this for youngsters to watch and people at home, Vinnie, you might as well come and sit with me in this studio if you're going to play football like that, because nobody wants to see it. Not even his ex-manager and somebody that has worked.
And once he's done that midway through the first half, there are no more, well, I'd say no more chances. He did it again shortly afterwards, but few more chances.
Yeah, but there's which way back are you going? You can't go anywhere. You can't go any further back. There we are, Manchester United then got a roll going. They got going. They played the football with stature, with great professionalism, and they knew that only after a matter of time they would create a chance, and they did.
Should they have had a penalty as well?
Manchester United?
Yes.
I think it was a great tackle. I think the two fullbacks have done quite well until the header for Elkins there. He gets back here, he's chasing Roy Keane. Roy's stumbling in motion, but there Gary gets his left foot for him. If you watch Roy here, starts to stumble. I've lost possession. There's the left foot. I think it's a great tackle. And David Ellery, the referee, deserves great credit for the way he's handled this game. He has been truly superb.
Laurie Sanchez was saying that Wimbledon were the good guys going into this. A lot of people wanted to see United beaten, but when they play like that, Cantona does things like that, you don't want them out, do you?
No, you've got to say, look, this is the way to play. OK, Wimbledon have got their way of playing, but against all the philosophies of the direct football. Joe's tinkered with the system, and he's playing 3 strikers. If you're going to play direct football, you've got to have wide men on the pitch to get crosses in. So they've got no crosses, Rich.
If you've got 30 seconds with them, which is about all we've got now, what would you be saying to them?
I hope Joe...
How do they get back into it?
If Joe's got any common sense, and I'm sure he has, he say, hey, we've got to get some width in here. Which way he goes about it, that's what he's paid for. I'm paid to sit here and talk about it.
Manchester United lead at Selhurst Park by a goal. What a goal from Eric Cantona. Is there a way back for Wimbledon? If anybody could find a way back, surely they can. We'll find out next. At the moment, they're a goal down. Selhurst Park's the venue. Wimbledon trail by a goal to 0. That goal scored by Eric Cantona. It's one we'll talk about for a long, long time, for all sorts of different reasons. Fabulous strike, wasn't it? But as Bobby Gould said, was there an offside in there? If Kevin Keegan's watching, Bobby, I bet he'll say yes. He scored one for Southampton, I think, not dissimilar to this, many years ago. It was disallowed for the same reasons, a player standing like Kanchelskis here in an offside position, but you can't disallow that, can you?
You can't disallow it, but technically he's offside. The linesman is going back with the play with the header, so he hasn't noticed the player. I'm just watching that screen there and seeing it as it happens. The linesman's gone back with the play, so his motion's going that way. He's seen Cantona stroke the ball, but he hasn't seen Kanchelskis run round the back, and he's in the view of the goalkeeper.
Linesman's come back, yes. Is he interfering with play? Jack Charlton says, of course, if he's on the pitch, he's interfering with play, so he must be offside. That's his argument. Do you agree with him?
Well, the linesman's there to make decisions. He's going the opposite way, and there's Kanchelskis. It's a wonderful strike, wonderful strike. I wouldn't like to say we disallowed it and Alex Ferguson gets hold of me.
Could be interesting. But Wimbledon, in your opinion, have got to start finding some width, and to coin a phrase, not mine, back to basics.
Well, as far as the long ball game is played, you have to get people into wide positions, get crosses in, and put the goalkeeper under pressure and hope for a drop. From dead ball situations, they've achieved that from a couple of throw-ins and right early on when Fashanu had a chance on the back post. But since then, Manchester United dominated the game.
Certainly the last 20 minutes of that half there, haven't they? It was very stop-start and played really at the sort of tempo I would imagine that Wimbledon wanted for a while, but Manchester United got a hold of it, didn't they?
Yeah, but Wimbledon had a free kick there, and they didn't put it in the box. You could hear the lads going mad, you know, they played a short one, he had a shot at goal. These Manchester United supporters must be delighted and thoroughly enjoying every opportunity they are now, because they're in the driving seat. They now have got to say, hey, we've got the ball, you come and get it.
Not in United's nature to sit on it.
No, not the way they play. They've not been educated that way now, Richard. They're educated to go forward. And Scott Fitzgerald's got to be lucky there he wasn't sent off for that tackle on Ryan Giggs, because if he's through one-on-one, you'd fancy Giggsy. But 3 wise heads there.
Was that the game plan, to interrupt their rhythm as best they could? Is that why they've ended up with 3 booked in the first half?
Well, yes. Vinnie Jones, his tackle is suicidal, isn't it? You know, and then we had Robbie Earle, I thought was a little bit unfortunate, and Scott Fitzgerald's lucky to stay on the pitch with what's gone on. He knows the rules, he understands it, but David Earle, he's tight to take the heat out of the game, keep it under control, and earn the respect of the players. And that's what David Earle has done today, earn the respect of the players.
The favourites are in front. Manchester United lead at Selhurst Park by a goal to 0. Let's rejoin Andy Gray and Martin Tyler.
Thank you, Richard. Eric Cantona has the goal to his name. Andy Gray believed the linesman might have put a flag up, and David Ellery might have had the right to overrule him.
I think that's what should have, Martin. Like Bobby Gould, I was too busy admiring the quality of the strike. But when a situation like that arises, I just think it's a linesman's duty. If he sees a player in an offside position, to stick his flag up. Then there would have been plenty of time for David Ellery and himself to have a little chat, and if David Ellery felt the goal should stand, to go ahead. But I think the linesman's duty, if a player's in an offside position, is to stick his flag up and let the referee decide.
Wimbledon have made their reputation by their reaction in difficulties against the odds. Well, the odds look against them here and in this attack. Before Joe Kinnear could get back to the bench, it was almost 2-0. Keane. Kanchelskis, Parker.
It's the one area I feel that Paul Parker lets himself down in. Too often at that level. It's a wonderful opportunity for him now. Look at the huge gap there. Now watch Hughes. He wants it near post. And that's poor quality for an international defender. I think that's something that Paul, even with all his experience, still has to work on.
Well, Wimbledon showing early signs of sticking to the initial plan in attack. They've kept the three strikers in that unit that hasn't really troubled Manchester United. The option from the bench to take one of them off and get Andy Clark on wide on the left. Irwin, pursued by Fear. Fitzgerald. Cantona waited for the tackle, and Kingston disappointed him. Fashanu trying to force the play for Wimbledon. Blissett keeping going. Cantona able to turn and confront Wimbledon again. Looking to bend it in behind scales for Hughes. It's forced him a little bit wide. Still Hughes. Still Hughes and Sagers, who'd really committed himself to cut out the cross.
Needed a sand iron there, didn't he, Mark Hughes? Really got that close to the line, that close to Sagers. Desperately trying to dig it out.
Well, United forced back initially by Sagers coming a long way to kick the ball. There are those who study the game closely who believe that maybe a law amendment should be put in place to stop goalkeepers doing that. And that would take some of the direction out of the game. Let's get a quick word from Nick Collins.
Thanks, Martin. Joe Kinnear, the Wimbledon manager, says he's very pleased with how hard his players are working, but he says they are very unhappy about the Eric Cantona goal. They all feel that Kanchelskis was offside. We spoke to Rob Harris, the linesman, and he confirms he did see Kanchelskis, but just didn't think he was interfering.
Fair enough.
See, I don't think the linesman should have that authority to do that, Mark, from his angle. He really shouldn't.
Jones now preparing to take a throw in front of Manchester United followers. Something happened here for Wimbledon, who specialise in getting their set plays into the right areas. And often they stumble and muddle the ball into the net.
Well, I think it's the first corner that Manchester United have had to face in the match so far.
To be taken by Elkins. Defended well by Ince. Where they've been working on not playing the ball into Schmeichel's hands. Hughes lofting it neatly for Keane. Giggs through the centre. Kanchelskis beyond him, coming in now and not making contact. Distracted perhaps by Barton's attempt to reach the ball for Wimbledon.
Well, had it not been for Warren Barton, this is one of the balls of the season for me that he's attempted there, but a fine touch by Warren Barton was just enough to take it away from Kanchelskis. Great vision from Roy Keane, it really was.
Bruce rather turned his back, the ball's gone back to Giggs, who's offside. Steve Bruce, of course, has cause to remember the 5th round last season when Manchester United went out at Bramall Lane and Bruce missed a penalty. They've not got beyond the 5th round, in fact, since they won the FA Cup in 1990. Giggs. Cantona. Let's go Knowles was a bit lucky, it was a miss hit, it went straight to Earl. He only presents possession to Parker. Keane. Oh, and it's run on for Giggs. Oh, off the goalkeeper, off the post, back to Hughes. And then Jones played the ball. It looked an absolutely surefire 2-0 lead for Manchester United.
Well, normally you'd be saying wonderful goalkeeping, but I think it's a terrible miss from Ryan Giggs. I almost think Hans Segers had given it up, Martin. As the ball was played through, I thought Warren Barton was going to have trouble with the spin on this if he let it bounce. That's what happened. Spin defeats him. Now it's a case of take your pick. Hans Segers has gone back and back and back, and Ryan Giggs just smashes it straight against him. He could have picked his spot anywhere.
The goal's still shaky.
What a let-off.
Well, they're still in the contest. But it was an amazing episode, and it might come back to haunt Giggs, who knows. Wimbledon will have to up their performance if that's to be the case.
Well, at 1-0, they're going to keep driving. They've got to keep believing they can get back into it. But I do think, had that one gone in, well, it would have been just too much for them.
Hughes is coming back with Scales. Goes towards Scales. It's Pallister who climbs the highest with Heath alongside him. Barton. And there was Ince just pouncing on a ball that ran only a matter of inches away from the control of Barton.
I think it's all right launching throws in there, Martin, but you've got to take the best header of the ball out of that. And there's no doubt Gary Pallister is the most dominant in the air. And at the moment, all they're doing is dumping it on top of him. And he's just coming like that and cleaning it out. And somebody's got to see that and say, hold on a minute, let's try and take Gary Pallister away from an area and throw it into a different area, because he's won everything in there today.
Well, there are a lot of theories about how to beat Manchester United, but only Chelsea and Stoke City, of course, in the early rounds of the Coca-Cola Cup have actually done it. 31 games unbeaten, and 22 of those matches have been won.
Must be a terrible life watching Manchester United these days.
Where they have been fortunate, perhaps because of their terrific ability, they've stayed clear of injury, but Jim McGregor having to check out Dennis Irwin here.
I think when you mentioned they've stayed clear of injury, and I think injury to key players, and it might sound strange, but I think there are players, and even in this multi-talented side of Alex Ferguson's, that they would miss if they weren't available.
Good enough. Holdsworth held up his hand in apology, trying to flash the ball across the face, but there have been very few touches really for the three front men. There's been no way that Wimbledon, who do play the ball forward with purpose, have been able to get the ball into the areas that they've certainly been talking about in their planning for this cup tie. Parker got a bit of a bad bobble then, to be fair.
I think he was making a change, and Gary Blissett's got to be the man, Martin, on this near side, because the plan playing him against Paul Parker, I'm sure, was for anything from the right side to be driving it across the face of United's defence, for Blissett to be coming on top of a guy who is, what, 4 or 5 inches taller than. That hasn't worked. And if you look at the other parts of his game, he's certainly not going to trouble Parker with his speed or his trickery either. Paul Parker, you feel, would be up to that. So maybe if Joe's thinking about making a change, that's the area he's going to be looking at.
He hasn't used the three attackers very often, but on the odd occasion that he has done it, he was telling me Wimbledon have always won. This might be the exception, but they've got a free kick. And at 1-0 down, and given that they do have this great willingness to compete, in difficult circumstances. Who knows? Elkins plays it in. Again, Manchester United step up. But this time the flag doesn't go up. Out quickly by Schmeichel. Parker. It's Giggs trying to guide it down. Away by Barton. Owen first to it. Alistair makes himself available. Giggs, Ince, the teamwork of a very high order again from the team with a very high placing and a high pedigree. Parker crosses. Talk about this being the year of the underdog. It could well be the year of all time for the top dog. Mike Ferguson will tell you the treble is impossible. The bookies don't agree. But the players don't know. Cantona. And Barton had to be quick. As Keane hoped to fasten on to the Frenchman's pass. Owen, who got to the semi-final of the FA Cup with Oldham, and of course was knocked out in 1990 by the club that he now plays for. Wimbledon's throw. And now there could be a booking here for Owen. He threw the ball away. Some referees automatically reach for the card when that happens.
Yes, I do, but I have to agree with Bobby Gould at half-time. I think he's handled the game very well today, Mr. Ellery. Give the Football Association some credit because they picked perhaps the right man for the job. The game clearly needed an experienced referee who has now penalised Fear for the first foul. That was a bit unlucky, Peter Fear, yeah. Both of them are just grappling with each other, more like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other there. But the decision went against them and for him.
Kanchelskis and Hughes and maybe even Roy Keane as well on an offside line. Well, the Wimbledon supporters in the crowd, outnumbered and quiet at the moment. Couldn't get there against Parker. He stopped, in fact, hoping for a free kick. Oh, now he's brought down by Ince. And one or two Wimbledon words at the referee there saying, hang on a minute, you've been quick enough to get the card out for our players.
And Paul Ince, I think, was making one or two gestures. He felt that Gary Blissett made a bit much of that. I have to say I agree with him. I don't think Paul Ince put too much into the tackle.
Well, this is a chance for Wimbledon. Sights of Peter Schmeichel's goal have been few and far between. Barton with the hand raised. Elkins, problems for Wimbledon here. Manchester United charging forward en masse in support of Andrei Kanchelskis. Keane on the edge of the area. Oh, that might have nestled in the bottom corner, a la the fourth round at Norwich City.
Yeah, look at Ryan Giggs. He was desperate for an early ball, and look at his disappointment. He turns away in disgust. I think that Kanchelskis looked up a little earlier, and all he needed to do was roll with a cross for Ryan Giggs.
Half an hour to go. Giggs with the corner. Cleared by Holdsworth. Kanchelskis. It's all in front of Paul Parker. And now Dennis Irwin. Cantona. John Norbury, the linesman. Well, it's a throw, and I think it was a flag for a free kick in the first place. Ince has the shot, and Wimbledon might have been wondering about a linesman again, as they were when Cantona scored. It's still not quite been sorted out, I don't think.
Well, they would have had a case here, because you can see the linesman pointing to the ground there. He definitely gave a free kick, flagged for a free kick. Obviously, David Ellery didn't understand the signal clearly, because he let the throw-in be taken. And I tell you, that nestled in the top corner. And Joe Kinnear really would have had reason to be grieved.
Wimbledon have got Andy Clark warming up. Player who had trials with Manchester United. Played a reserve game. Alex Ferguson decided not to take him on. And Clark was with Barnet. Shortly after that, he moved to Wimbledon. And shortly after that, he scored in a Wimbledon win at Old Trafford. Giggs. Scales sees it coming. But Manchester United tried to step up. Getting offside, the ball was deflected in any case. Giggs. Cantona. Hughes. And over. Just for a second, it looked as though it might drop back into play, and Giggs was hoping that it would.
That was a fine save. Look at the perfection in the ball from Cantona. That wasn't a big area you had to pick out for Mark Hughes, but he picked it out beautifully. Encouraging Hughes to go for the top corner, and Sagers had to be at his best.
Another corner. It was another United attack in which Wimbledon were chasing the shadows. Sagers and company must feel now that their FA Cup adventure is over, and Manchester United are moving on into the quarter-finals.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind they're looking for Gary Pallister at the near post, but Paul Ince makes a run in behind him. Go in behind a big man, and sometimes you get the drops. That's what Paul Ince does. Pallister misses it. Ince is right behind him, and that's a very fine header. Whether he knew too much about where it was actually going, Paul Ince, I don't know. But he picked the bottom corner out beautifully.
Here's Earl. Barton. Flag is up. And David Ellery initially pointed for a goal kick, but it had to be a corner off the deflection.
Unless there's a major change in this game in the next 5 or 10 minutes, Martin, Wimbledon, I'm afraid, are on their way out of this year's FA Cup.
So much importance for Wimbledon on this corner, taken by Elkins. Up was Pallister again. Parker. Holding off Fashanu, Kanchelskis. They're ripping Wimbledon apart again. Well, somewhat selfish from Kanchelskis in the end. There was no one coming in at the far post if it was a shot come cross.
That was a shot, Martin. It was a shot.
It was a shot.
Well, the question at the moment, and that's why Wimbledon have got to dig deep, is how many United are going to win by.
Keane. Will it come for Hughes? It does. Even with a 2-goal cushion, none of the fighters come out of Mark Hughes.
If you watch Paul Ince here, he makes that run in behind Gary Pallister. That's who they're aiming for. And all he does is stick his head on the ball. All the pace is on the corner. All he has to find is direction, and he finds that very well indeed.
It's been a good few days for Paul Ince, because you would feel, as a disciple of Brian Robson, he's spoken many times about the good influence that Robson's had on his play with Manchester United. Now, of course, Brian is in the England setup. There he is. And Ince, I think in particular, will reap even more reward from the partnership at that level. Trying to slide it inside the post, not quite enough pace to prevent Schmeichel making the save.
For the first time in the match, they were a little bit sloppy at the back, Manchester United, a little bit slow to react to the situation. Peter Fear was unlucky. You could see what he was trying to do, but didn't quite connect properly with the shot.
Ooh la la.
Well, even if it goes to an opponent, they'll love it.
Well, you can love it when you're 2-0 up, can't you? And he's, of course, had a major hand in that. Well, you know all about Wimbledon, and you won't expect a timid response here. But the fact of the matter is, at the three-quarter mark, they've been outclassed. They're 2-0 down. Giggs. There's such a sharpness about United. Sagers was a bit slow starting to come, perhaps realising that there was enough pace on the ball in any case, but he wasn't absolutely sure, was he? Otherwise he'd have stayed at home.
That was again a wonderful break from Manchester United, it really was. It must be frightening to teams watching to see them under such pressure 1 minute, and then within a matter of 10 seconds they're having an attempt at the other end with 3, 4, sometimes 5 players up in the attack.
Fear. You could forgive them really with such a big match coming up, a semi-final second leg on Wednesday at Sheffield Wednesday. Certainly the tie overall not decided with just that one Giggs goal at Old Trafford. But United, to the delight of their fans, estimated at certainly up towards 20,000 and a crowd of 27,500.
I think one of the secrets of one of the secrets of successful sides is they don't take the foot off the throttle. You look throughout history at successful sides, the great Liverpool, Leeds, the Arsenal sides, even the side of Everton I played in the mid-80s, the secret then was you don't take your foot off the throttle, you play at 100%. And then you never get complacent.
The Wimbledon style might not suit the Romantics, but they've certainly produced some romantic results in their short time in the league. The 17th season, 8 of them now in the top division. Great credit to all concerned. If they pull anything out of the fire here, it will be worthy of setting alongside winning the FA Cup itself. Cantona, Sagers will sweep up.
The options are frightening, they really are. When they break, I mean, they're so spoiled. Normally if you have a couple of options as a player, you're very thankful. Sometimes the ball arrives at a green and yellow shirt, and it's got 3 and 4 players running off him.
And who heads it away? Gary Pallister for the umpteenth time. Cantona, he's got 2 to the right. Kanchelskis is one of them. keen. They're queuing up here. Ince. Cantona. Ince involves Giggs on the left. Now Owen.
Keep ball, Martin. Come and get it if you want it.
There's the acceleration. Oh, this is absolutely fantastic. Dennis Irwin. The whole cup tie summed up in an instant. The superior side absolutely stunning the opposition.
Well, I've been sitting here beside you applauding this goal because it was quite breathtaking. They played a little bit of keep ball, they kept possession, they sucked them out, and suddenly Dennis Irwin injected the pace that you've come to expect from their attacks, showed wonderful composure, and just stuffs it into the net. But I tell you what, all before that was quite wonderful. Quite a joy to watch.
Well, we're sometimes led to believe that the best clubs from other countries have something sophisticated that's superior to what we produce in our own football-loving land. But that absolutely mesmerised Wimbledon and all of us watching. And they were watching, really, in the end. They could only stand there, and when they see it again, if they can stand seeing it again.
I hope at the end of the show, Richard and Bobby Gill can take that move back right to its inception, if you like, Martin. Just count how many passes were involved in it. You know, and leisurely go through it at the end of the game, because it was astounding. It really was.
And the goal was scored by the left back. And now Alex Ferguson. His player's mind not turning to next Wednesday, but maybe the manager is thinking along those lines.
Well, that's exactly what he's doing. Game's won. Cup tie's over here. Manchester United, barring a miracle, are into the next round. And Alex knows that. He's bringing off two of his very important players that he's going to need on Wednesday night. And he's giving two squad players a game, and that's good to see.
A very loyal Brian McClare. And Dion Dublin, who's had very few chances, of course, partly because of the quality of the other players in his position, but also because of that serious injury early last season against Crystal Palace at Old Trafford. Kanchelskis chasing, and he's got there. Fitzgerald in the end gets his goal kick.
That's incredible. Poor Schmeichel, so alive and alert to all the running that was going on ahead of him. And the pace of Kanchelskis.
Well, sometimes you and I get stopped on our travels by fans who say, why do you take the cameras so often to cover Manchester United? I'd like to think that United themselves have given us something of an answer to those comments. It's been an exhibition in the second half. And you don't often see that with the game still going on. That tells you how relaxed Manchester United are and how much in control they've been, really, since Wimbledon were stopped from getting into their stride early on. The battle had to be won by United in that sense, and certainly Bruce and Pallister were stern in the physical confrontations against some early crosses. The referee, of course, has been a key figure as well, who's absolutely stood no nonsense from Wimbledon. Elkins. Got a lot of players forward here, including Jones, including Earl, but it's Bruce who gets there before him. Brian McClare, of course, was in the side that won the FA Cup in 1990. Ince was also Giggs. They're toying with the opposition. Oh, dear, oh dear. Time for the party pieces. Fashanu. Well, the one talking point from Wimbledon's point of view afterwards will be the first goal, and whether the flag should have gone up. Holdsworth.
I don't think it mattered, Martin, and I mean that as an honest assessment. At that time, United were turning the screw, and we had said we felt it was a matter of when, not if we were going to score. And then to crown it all with a goal of immense quality from Dennis Irwin. The movement suddenly injects the pace. Wonderful return pass from Paul Ince. And then it's all about Irwin. A left back that shows utmost composure and a deadly finish. How do you stop them?
Jones, who has the FA Cup tattooed on a leg as a memento of his winning the tournament in 1988. He's playing a private game with the United defenders at the moment. He should be trying, well, he is trying, of course, to locate his strike force. United have had all the answers.
All he's locating is Gary Palliser's head. At times you tend to overlook defenders when you're looking at a side like Manchester United, but I do think the back four have defended very well indeed for Alex Ferguson's side. When they've had to defend deep, they've competed and they've headed the ball, which you would expect. But they've mixed it very well. They've pushed up and caught John Fashanu, Dean Holdsworth and Gary Blissett offside half a dozen times, and that's got their strikers then thinking. And I think the back four have done their job, and Alex Ferguson will be just as delighted with their contribution as he will have been with the likes of Cantona and Giggs and Kanchelskis and Ince.
Just to remind you, we've got all the fifth round goals coming up for you after this match is finished, and if you haven't seen the draw yet, we'll not spoil that for you. Just to tell you the one fact that Manchester United will play either Bristol City or Charlton in the quarter-finals, unless, of course, Wimbledon pull off one of the recoveries of all time. Liverpool, of course, did wipe out a 3-goal deficit. They had a lot more time to do it. And in truth, they had a lot more quality to do it with as well. That was in the Premiership in January. Wimbledon do have a corner. Just over 10 minutes to go.
No, honestly, Martin, apart from John Fashanu's early header, which he didn't quite connect with properly, I don't remember Peter Schmeichel having too much to do.
Variety to the corner this time. Schmeichel has something to do with the punch. There was just that save from Peter Fear, wasn't there, in the second half as well. Well, the counter-attack is well and truly launched again. McClare. Wasn't an easy bounce. Keane was closest following in, but Sager's not discomforted. Fashanu with a flick. It's concentration the problem for Manchester United now, perhaps more than anything else.
Defenders have goals as well, though. Clean sheets. And that's why it's just as difficult now for Wimbledon to score as it's ever been. The back four won't want to concede, neither will Peter Schmeichel. being totally exposed in both wide areas now. I feel sorry for both fullbacks, Warren Barton and Gary Elkins at times, because they're just flooding into those big gaps where they have no midfield players in front of them to protect them.
Kanchelskis. Jones. David Ellery slowly covers the ground towards the Wimbledon number 4, who runs away from the scene of the crime and runs past the referee as well. And the United fans now taunting Jones. Ince. Well, it's as though they're playing with 14 men. Irwin, now Giggs. All Barton can do is boot it forward. Blissett more central at the moment. And then it's time for another calm intervention from Pallister. A whirlwind from Wimbledon. It's all been a breeze for Manchester United. Jones wanting to shake Ince's hand. Ince with an instant reaction that wasn't quite as friendly. Himself to chase. Dublin, of course, was involved with Cambridge United in 2 splendid FA Cup runs. Twice they got to the quarter-final, and the 5th round was something of Dion's speciality. In 2 years back-to-back, he scored 5 goals in the 5th round of the FA Cup in total. Trying to show that Wimbledon can run with the ball as well as direct it forward with attempted long passes. McClare, good time to come on. Kanchelskis. Manchester United showing no signs of slackening despite the double substitution. Perhaps because of the double substitution. Bruce. It's long since ceased to be a contest. It's a masterclass at the moment. Ince, giving anyone a header. Parker. Dublin. Keane. McClare. Behind Fear. Giggs in the centre. Oh, deflected towards the goal and not into it by Barton. Sagers was straining to cover the near post. Could easily have been 4.
Well, moves like this deserve to end in a goal. Again, it was wonderful play. You can see what he's trying to do. He's trying to just feed it in across the edge of the 6-yard box. But either Dublin or Giggs, I'd like to see him just put his foot behind the ball and smash it there.
Holdsworth. Again, Gary Pallister making it look effortless, which of course it hasn't been. Ince losing out, Fear snapping in. Holdsworth. Elkins.
Talk about not being easy, Martin, but what has given them the right to enjoy this last 5 or 10, 15 minutes of this match has been what they've put in to the opening 75 minutes. They've earned the right to be 3 ahead. They've earned the right to have all this space and time on the ball.
Well, if they were favourites for the FA Cup before this, what about the odds now? And that's not taking into account the FA Carling Premiership and the Coca-Cola Cup as well. Chelskis. And a slip fair. Knocked away by Scales. That's who scored the second goal. Trying to inspire a fourth for Manchester United. An example here for schoolboys, and on the subject of schoolboys, on Sky Sports on Friday night, live coverage, England against Northern Ireland in the Victory Shield competition for the under-15s. And Super Sunday, next Sunday, Chelsea against Tottenham. Chelsea through in the FA Cup with that win at Oxford. And that starts 4:30 next Sunday. Keane. But again, they're not just settling for keeping the ball. Ince. Dublin claiming and getting the corner.
What a great run from Paul Ince this late in the game. Strong, powerful, incisive.
Scales.
I think Welly's having a treatment, man. Just watch this. Here's an example of just how quickly. Look how many green and yellow shirts are actually in the penalty area. And now watch this. It goes to Giggs and they're away. And they've now got 5 against 4 up there. And it's only too much weight in the pass that brings it to an end. And that's the difficulty sides have playing against this Manchester United side. You're always frightened if you commit too many men forward, they'll break away and destroy you.
Dublin. Well, they scored from a quite fantastic volley here. They scored from a set piece. They scored from a multi-pass move. Be no hard feelings about the fouls now. Almost a token tackle by Dean Holdsworth. Plenty of pace. Surges for a second, just as though he might be deceived. The kick comes off the back of Bruce's head. Jones. Earl going in, Fashionu's there as well. Almost fell for fear. And still not a defensive thought once it gets into midfield. And why should there be, really? Chelskis. Ince. Keane. Giggs on the right this time. And now cutting in with a threat. Dublin looking to lay it back for Ince, under-hit it slightly. Another step towards the treble for Manchester United, towards turning what even Alex Ferguson believes is impossible into reality. A superb performance here. Eric Cantona showing the quality with the opening goal, although Wimbledon will wonder about whether there should have been an offside against Andrei Kanchelskis. Paulin's got the second with a stooping header from a corner, and the third emphasising just how much Wimbledon have been taken to the cleaners from Dennis Irwin. And United show yet again, whatever the approach from the opposition, they have the class to counter it. 32 games unbeaten, 23 of those matches won, a 7th in succession now. And as far as the FA Cup itself is concerned, a place in the quarter-finals for the first time since they last won the trophy 4 years ago. Wimbledon past masters at ruffling the feathers of the rich and famous, unable to produce the upset today. They finished second here by a street. Pallister was very important in the defending, particularly in the early stages. I'm sure Manchester United will give the referee a pat on the back as well for his assertive handling of some rumbustious Wimbledon play, with Vinnie Jones to the fore in the first half. Wimbledon 0, Manchester United 3.